Hi, Dan here. Let's talk about vaccines. More specifically, vaccine cocktails. Perhaps you didn't even know there was such a thing, but there is such a thing. So what are vaccine cocktails? It's the newly adopted practice by some countries to mix vaccines. So you get your first dose of a certain type of vaccines and your second dose of another vaccine. Some people, some lawmakers, think that it's a good idea. Honestly speaking, it's been a comedy of errors since this pandemic started early last year. First, people were told, do not wear a mask, it's not going to help. And then wear a mask, it is going to help. And then the virus is not airborne, there's no risk of transmission airborne. And then yes, no, it is airborne, stay 2 feet apart. And then no, it's not. And then yes, definitely you can get it by, come on. And now, some smart people somewhere are thinking that mixing vaccines is a good idea. How is mixing vaccines a good idea? I mean, some countries like Canada, they've made it official, and there's other countries as well, they've made it official. Yes, it's okay to mix up vaccines. So basically they're saying that, you can take AstraZeneca as your first dose and Pfizer as your second dose, or Sinopharm as your first dose and Moderna as your second dose, or whatever the combination you like or you are confronted with. It's all good. And then you've got some people coming, you see them on the news, you see them on social media saying, doctors for that matter, saying that, yes, studies have shown that mixing up vaccines is even better than not mixing them up. How is it better? What studies? Show us the study. Show us a proper study. Not a social media study or some website somewhere, no. Show us a proper study, a randomized, controlled trial, something worthy of being published as a randomized controlled trial in the New England Journal of Medicine or PubMed or whatever. We want to see your randomized controlled trials, peer-reviewed randomized controlled trial, until you can show us the literature, the peer-reviewed literature. Don't go on TV, on social media telling people that it's okay to mix up vaccines. How is it okay? My advice to people who are confused about should I mix them up, should I not mix them up, is to listen to the people who have created the vaccines. Ask Pfizer BioNTech what they think about that. Ask AstraZeneca what they think about that. Ask Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Sinopharm, Sinovac. None of those companies, none of those pharmaceuticals have acknowledged that it was a good idea to mix them up, or have encouraged people to mix them up, or have given any recommendation that it's a good idea. I mean, the biggest trend is to take your first dose of AstraZeneca and your second dose of Pfizer. That's what a lot of people are doing. You will see few people getting their first dose of Pfizer and their second dose of AstraZeneca. No, it's always AstraZeneca as a first dose and something else as a second dose. Why? Well, it all started because of the VITT, which is one of the side effects of AstraZeneca. Not a common side effect. It's a fraction of the vaccinated population vaccinated with AstraZeneca that develops that will develop VITT. And what's VITT? VITT stands for vaccine-induced thrombotic thrombocytopenia, which means that some people who got the AstraZeneca vaccine developed thrombosis. In lay term, that would mean that they develop clots. You know, like a deep vein thrombosis, DVT, right? So thrombosis, they develop thrombosis, they develop clots in their circulation, and a destruction of their platelets. So VITT stands for vaccine-induced thrombotic thrombocytopenia. And so some people said, okay, because there is a risk of VITT with AstraZeneca, and that risk seems to be higher than with Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, Sinopharm, Sinovac, and all the other vaccines, to prevent VITT or possible VITT in those who got their first dose of AstraZeneca, you're going to give them a second dose of something else. So first dose AstraZeneca, second dose Pfizer or Moderna or Johnson or whatever. But the thinking is flawed. Pfizer has been studied. The efficacy and effectiveness of Pfizer, first of all, is controversial. In fact, it's controversial for all of them because they came to the conclusion that this one was 90% effective or 95% effective after the second dose. You know, in a controlled pool of patients, it's not the same result that you're going to get in the community. And then different countries at different peaks of first or second waves at the time. And then there were different variants. And, you know, so the thing is not solid, you know. Yes, it helps. I'm vaccinated with Pfizer, first and second dose. But it's not clear. And now you're going to mix up vaccines? How are you going to know the efficacy and the effectiveness of your little cocktail there? How does it make sense to take a bit of Sinopharm and a little bit of Moderna there and, you know? Sure, why not? Let's just tell patients now, when you give antibiotics, put it the same. Oh, you've got an abscess, you've got a cellulitis, you've got a soft tissue infection, a staph aureus infection. It's okay. I give you a little bit of augmentin, amoxicillin, clavulanic acid, and then 12 hours later or 6 hours later, feel free to use some clindamycin, because clindamycin is excellent for staph aureus infection. Well, we don't know exactly because, you know, this is a cocktail that's not been studied really, but let's say every 8 hours you're going to mix them up, amoxicillin, clavulanic acid, and clindamycin. Oh, and you have a sore throat, and yes, it's a strep infection. You know what? You can take some azithromycin, and then 8 hours later you could take some amoxicillin. And then 12 hours later, you go back to azithromycin. And then 8 hours later, you go back to amoxicillin. I mean, you know, and here is another problem. There is still so many people who are not convinced that vaccination against COVID is the best thing for them. And it's sad, you know, I really encourage everybody to get vaccinated. Like I said, I got my first and second dose of Pfizer, and I've encouraged all my friends, all my patients, all my family members to get vaccinated as soon as they get the opportunity. And it doesn't really matter if where you live, like in Dubai, they give Sinopharm. If you have access to Sinopharm, take Sinopharm. If where you live they give Moderna, take Moderna. If they give AstraZeneca, take AstraZeneca. If they give Pfizer, take Pfizer. If they give Johnson & Johnson, take Johnson & Johnson. Get vaccinated. But my point is, there are still so many anti-vaxxers. So many COVID anti-vaxxers. You're not helping convincing those people who are still in doubt to get vaccinated. When you're telling them, oh, you got AstraZeneca, we're a bit worried about VITT, nothing serious, a little bit of clot, you could get a clot and like the stroke, don't worry, you mix them up. What? But, yeah, that's good. I mean, you're gonna scare people away. Why not? You should have thought of this a little bit more. And then those who already got their 2 doses of AstraZeneca, what message are you giving them? Because they'll think, oh, damn. Now they're telling us that, we should switch to something else, but I already got my 2 doses. What will happen to me? So anyway, cocktail, yeah. Again, the lawmakers, to be honest, it's a bit tiring, There's no common sense. And yeah, maybe you should do what they're telling you to do, mix vaccines, why not? Maybe mix 3-4 vaccines, Do your own personal cocktail, right? Your own mojito, pina colada, whatever, you mix them up. Your choice. Why not take a shot of every little vaccine just to increase the efficacy, Take a bit of Astra, 4 weeks later, you take a Pfizer, 4 weeks later, a Moderna, 4 weeks later, a Sinopharm, Johnson & Johnson. Cheers.